Hello there, and welcome. Today I promised you I would talk to you about lectures that affected my life and changed my life. And I do want to mention one of my favorite preachers of all time, Bobby Renfro. Bobby Renfro was always bringing a lecture to me that was very potent and that helped me through my life. He was the First Baptist preacher in Roswell, New Mexico when I met him. But his lectures were in many ways timeless. I remember one about Balaam's ass. You definitely should look it up. I remember one that was very important to me because Bobby was a thinking man. And he asserted, if science and scripture don't agree, it's either not settled science or it's not scriptural. And then he proceeded to prove his stance. It was quite remarkable. I'm not going to talk about those sermons so much as one from a preacher that was less gifted than Bobby, but every bit as spiritual and every bit as important to my life. And that was a man named Ronald Stovall. Ronald Stovall was a preacher in Deming, New Mexico, and he was my preacher during the time when I was first starting my work as a teacher. And one Sunday he gave the sermon, "Don't Let Your Words Fall to Earth." It was a really important sermon for me for several reasons. As an early teacher, a beginning teacher, I was struggling to keep up with my work. It was not easy to deal with, and I think many people who have never done any teaching fail to see the challenge within it. Aside from the planning and trying to be of value to students, there's a lot of work involved in grading students' material and keeping track of it. You have to learn a lot of things very quickly, and it's a challenging job. At the time, I had a mentor. I'm not going to mention her name because this is kind of a criticism of her. She was a wonderful woman, very sweet and very gifted in the classroom, but she had a habit of saying that she would do things and then not doing them. And truth be told, I fell into the same habit, saying things like, "I'll have these back to you tomorrow," and then not having them back. "I'm sorry I didn't get them done, maybe tomorrow." Kind of putting things off, that sort of thing. She did that. Sometimes students would ask her, "Would you come to my ball game?" And she'd say yes, but she never intended to go. And I understand why someone would say yes to something like that, because it's uncomfortable to say, "You know what, I'm not going to be able to make it," or "I just don't want to go." Well, of course, "I don't want to go" is not a kindly thing to say, so it's hard to say that. But I listened to Ronald's sermon about don't let your words fall to earth, and it definitely changed me as a person and as a teacher, because Ronald said, look, you really do need to pay attention to that section in the Sermon on the Mount where Jesus said, "Let your yes be yes and your no be no." Don't swear. Don't promise you're going to do something and then don't deliver. If you say you're going to do something, you make sure you do it. If you say you're going to do something by a certain time, you make sure you do it. If you fail to do it at that time, you make sure that the thing that prevented it was really important and essential. If it means that you have to suffer some in order to hold your words up, suffer. This was such an important lesson for me. It's hard to put it in some sort of perspective, because this is a very challenging thing, to not let your words fall to earth. That if you say you'll do something, you're going to do it. But I think for students especially, it is essential for teachers to uphold this concept. Don't say you're going to do something unless you plan to do it. Become the person whose word can be depended upon. Because let me tell you, there are a lot of people in young people's lives that do not uphold their end of the bargain. There are people who make promises but don't keep those promises. Lots of them. And if you want to actually serve your students and help them and be of value to them, you need to have a word that's as strong as iron. You need to assert, well, if I can be at your game, I'll be at your game, and then you need to show up. You cannot say, I'll be at your game, and then just feel a little tired and then not go. Okay? That happens all the time. You can't do that. You need, as a teacher, to be the person whose word may be depended upon no matter what. Because listen, there are going to be times when you're going to fall short. That's going to happen. But you need to be that steady state person, because that's part of what makes you successful, is the fact you can be depended upon. And you're teaching your young people how to be dependable. You're teaching them how much it matters for someone to say, I'll have these back tomorrow, and then have them back tomorrow. It is an incredible gift you give someone when you are trustworthy. You give them the gift of relaxation. You allow them to breathe more freely because they can trust you. And little things, it's easy to fail or forget, so you need to write stuff down. But even in little things, you should stay true to it. I struggle with this still, but I'm determined to not promise something and then not deliver it. If I say I'm going to deliver it, I'm going to deliver it. You can depend on me, because I am working not for you, but for the Lord. And when I say that I'll do something, I'm saying it as a child of His with honor. So that sermon, Don't Let Your Words Fall to Earth, has been in my heart and my mind ever since. And I've tried my absolute best to be true to that, to uphold that, to be the person that others can depend upon and lean on and lean toward, because they know if I say I'll do it, I am going to put everything into getting that thing done. I love listening to lectures. When I went to Warren Wilson College, a number of the professors there were writers. They are writers. It's a writing college. Okay. I got an MFA in writing, and I got to listen to some of the best writers in the world give lectures. It was delightful. I love a good lecture, and many of them have affected me. Kevin McAvoy did a lecture about time that I still think about consistently, about how time is our tool as writers, that we get to own time differently than we do as just people living in the earth. We're tied to the arrow of time physically as people, but as writers we can break time, rearrange time, stretch it and bend it and manipulate it, and that is a glorious gift for the storyteller. Dr. Longwell, what was his first name? He gave a lecture about the wild swans at Coole. It was delightful, wonderful. And it was simply a lecture that said you can use the rhythm of Latin with the rhythm of English, the Latinate cognates in English, with the English roots, to create beautiful musical effects in poetry. He's right. It was the most wonderful lecture. I have it recorded and I listened to it. It's very reassuring to hear a lecture from someone who's thought and considered and constructed and then offered that stance. You should look for a lecture you would like too. They're available online. It's a wonderful thing, a good lecture. It can change us. It can be hard to take sometimes, but it can also be a wonderful blessing because it gives us something to guide us in our service toward others. That's it for today. I hope you have a glorious rest of the day, and I hope you see me soon, you gorgeous people.